I have a triangle here where I know an angle and I know two sides, and I'm being asked to find a third, and I have not been given a right angle. So I can't use basic SOHCAHTOA on this because it's not a right angle triangle. But never fear, that doesn't mean it's unsolvable. It just means a more complicated tool. So we're going to have to use cosine law. So if you sort of ignore this part, you get a squared plus b squared equals c squared. That's Pythagorean theorem. With a tiny little correction on there in case you don't have a 90-degree corner. So how do you use this? Well, you've got to identify which pieces go where first. So the trick is that if this is the angle you're using, the side that goes with it is way over here. They don't touch each other. And you've got kind of a clue in the equation up here. The angle that you're given and the side across from it are literally on opposite ends of this equation. So I'm going to use this as phi. That's this thing here. That goes here because it's the angle or the side across from the angle I'm going to use. And these two sides are interchangeable as A and B. So if I fill in this formula with those symbols, I'll have m squared is, I'll use 11 for A, and I'll use 9 for B. A was 11, B was 9, and I've got cos 36 degrees. Okay, so you've got a whole bunch of numbers there and a whole bunch of work to do with order of operations. So I've seen 11 squared here with some adding. The square is going to take precedence over the adding, so I'll do it first. 11 times 11 is 121. 9 squared is 81. And I have some subtractions and multiplications here, so I'm going to do the multiplications first. 2 times 11 is 22. And I have a cos 36 here that I can do calculator. Cosine 36, 0.809. Okay. So that's not everything I could have done in one line. I just sort of went through and did some steps. You could see how this is going. There's no multiplication happening with these numbers anymore, so I'm free to add them. 121 and 81 would be 202. I've got a 22 times 9 that I could do is 198. I'm still going to need to do this multiplication before I can do that subtraction. 198 times 0.809 is 160.182. And 202, subtract that number, gives me 41.818. Last thing to do, I just need to break that square. Now, I'm going to write this in to be technically correct, and then we'll discuss. Anytime you use a square root to break a square, you need to consider both the plus and the minus options. So m is plus or minus square root, that's a cube root, square root of 41.818. Square root of 41.18, 6.47. Okay. So if you've got all the numbers and you just have them on this side, you just have to slowly work your way through the order of operations. And because I do technically need plus or minus anytime I break a square with the square root, I end up with the answer plus or minus 6.47. Now, in the context of a geometry problem, the length of this side can't be negative, right? Negatives aren't allowed for lengths. That doesn't make any sense. So in this particular question, because of context, the length of that side is going to be positive 6.47 units.